welcome to High Frequency Talks with Jenna and Lily. Today we have a guest who is here to talk about essential oils, and I have been using essential oils for the past 5 years or so, but I never learned this much about essential oils until I met Beck, so we're super excited to have her here to explain more to us about how you can use essential oils in your lifestyle.
Hey guys, it's Lily. I just wanted to thank you for being here today. Don't forget to stay in the moment. And I'm super excited to learn also because I feel like I know the bare minimum about it and I'm slowly learning, but I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Yay, thank you so much for having me, guys.
So let's get started. Our first question is, how did you get started with this lifestyle and where did you start to learn about essential oils?
Yeah, so I got started with essential oils about 4.5 years ago. It was in 2014. And my journey to being, discovering, I guess you could say, essential oils was really started by me becoming a vegan and changing my diet. That was like a pinnacle point in my life where I was learning about natural ways of living, and it kind of opened up this realm that I had never really been open to before. I just grew up in a standard household where we just ate normal standard diet food and used standard toxic products and went to the doctors and all of this. So when I started discovering all of this stuff, it was really, for me, it was like, I guess you could say I was starting to rebel against the medical system a lot and the way that they were doing things and over medicalizing people. And so I, with all of this new discovery, was trying to figure out, where do I fit into this? What do I want to do with this? And so I started studying naturopathy and was really open to the world of herbs, or as you Americans say, herbs. And I was just blown away by this whole new world that I had not known about. And I didn't realize that there were natural ways to be able to support our bodies. So anyway, I had no clue about essential oils at this time. Didn't know they existed. And I remember that someone had mentioned them to me and I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then fast forward a couple of years and I was living here in Southern California and I had a baby, my first baby, and I got invited to an essential oils class. It was just as simple as that. And I was like, yes, I would love to learn about more plant juice. Tell me more. I have no idea what I'm expecting. I had no expectations. And I went along to this class. I'm sitting in the living room and she's just telling us what these oils could do to help support your body and how your body was, made to function, which I really truly believed at that point. And if you supported it in the right way, your body would be able to heal itself naturally. And so my jaw was basically on the floor that whole class, and I, ordered my kit because, that was, they were like, you need to get a starter kit. This is your best way to get started. I was like, I am all there. And so I got my starter kit and basically just dove in to learning about how to use them. And my biggest moment, I think, with realizing how powerful they actually were was I was shortly after that pregnant with my second. And with my first, I had experienced pregnancy insomnia in the third trimester. Could not sleep to save my life for most of the third trimester. Would wake up. I would usually fall asleep fine, wake up, and could not get back to sleep. And I tried everything natural that was safe for pregnancy under the sun. And then nothing really worked. And so I was just reading about what oils in my starter kit could help me with sleep. And, there were the typical ones like lavender, but we also had a blend called Valor, which I know Jenna loves. I read somewhere to put it on your big toes because your big toes are connected to your brain. And so I would inhale that, I would put it on my big toes, and then I would go back to bed. And within a couple of minutes every single time, I was passed out again. I was sleeping. And this happened, it wasn't just one time, it was happening every time I woke up, which at that point in my third trimester was happening regularly. It was happening at least 3 to 4 times a week. And without fail, it would help me get back to sleep. And it was the same exact situation I'd had in my first pregnancy, except that I wouldn't get back to sleep. And so that's when I was like, okay, these things really work. And that was like my gateway oil. And I just wanted to know more about it. That was like my gateway in. And I just needed to know like more about it. And so I was slow learning. Like I had 2 kids. I was adjusting to life with kids, like 2 children. And so I didn't like throw myself in and buy thousands of dollars of oils and learn all about everything straight away. But there came a point probably 2 years into my journey where I was like, I need more of this. And so I started going down this rabbit hole of what these oils could do and like learning about the chemistry, which my chemistry knowledge is still very basic, but you know, like just understanding like how do they work? Why do they work? You know, all of that kind of stuff. And that's kind of led me to where I am now, and I love to talk about it. So that's basically how I got started.
Wow, that sounds super interesting. And I love that you use the word gateway oil, because I think it's so true. And I think also a good point that you brought up is you're learning the chemistry of it. I think a lot of the times people just, at least in my experience, people that don't know about it, they just make fun of you because they're like, wow, okay, you're sick, you're using another oil, you're still sick the next day, look, your oil didn't work. But it's like, you have to understand there's a whole lot more in your body that's actually going on than just you putting on an oil.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like, you can't put an oil on once and then expect it to work. It's not like popping a pill. And I think that's, you know, we're so conditioned in our day and age, in our culture, to just think that you should be able to pop a pill and get rid of the issue. Really, it's just masking and band-aiding a symptom. And oils don't work that way. They work very differently. They work synergistically at a cellular level with your body. And you have to use them more often, and you have to use more. And because it's supporting your body, it's not just masking a symptom. It's supporting your body to function the way that it's supposed to, so that it can fight off what it needs to, or so that it can come back into homeostasis, which is like when your body is balanced. But the other thing that I like to say to people is, you know, for anyone that comes up against me and says, you know, like, well, is it just like a placebo effect? Do they actually work? I'm like, well, if you think about it, it could be, you know, but the pharmaceutical industry actually, they use plant compounds as a basis for creating drugs. When they create a drug, they're actually recreating synthetically plant constituents, chemical constituents and compounds, and recreating, mimicking those components that give it a healing benefit or properties to create their drugs. The reason they don't use the plants is because they can't patent nature. So there's no money to be made if they, you know, like, were to use the actual plant compounds. So they have to recreate it synthetically in a lab. But unfortunately, with that comes a whole host of issues and side effects and things like that, because they're synthetically made. So when you think about it, it's like, well, of course they work, because pharmaceutical companies are literally copying compounds in nature to create their drugs to try and fix issues that we have daily. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I was listening to another podcast the other day, and the host was talking about how the States, like people in the States, pharma went to Bali and they bought this land because it had these healing plants there, and the plants there help with curing Alzheimer's. And so the States went in, they sent their pharma people, they bought the land so that no one else can reach those plants, so that they can take the plants and, like you said, make those compounds, make the pills, make money, and make you fall back into that cycle of Western medicine and being dependent on a pill.
Yeah, I think there is definitely a place for Western medicine, in society. I think it's great for like emergencies, but there's just too many people that are depending on these pills every single day to fix these minor problems. I think as humans we complicate things so much, like disease and pain in the body, inflammation, all of this stuff is just so complicated when it could be simple, is changing your lifestyle. Just, exercise more, sleep better at night, eat better. All of this stuff could be a simple fix, but we complicate it so much. And yeah, I was on so many different pills at a young age, just under 18. I remember I don't go to the doctor very often anymore, but last time I went to the doctor, they were like asking me if I was still on all these medications. There was like a list of like 7 different medications that I was on under the age of 16. And it's just crazy because now I don't need to take any medication. I use the essential oils to support my body and a healthy diet and exercise, and it completely fixes all of that stuff. So leading into, what do you feel like is the biggest misconception about essential oils? Because some people think like, oh, you can just go to the store and buy an essential oil at like a Sprouts or just a regular grocery store. Do you feel like there's a difference between essential oils?
Yeah, good question. So the scary part about essential oils is that they're not regulated at all. There's no governing body regulating. There's no kind of system regulating them. And so, I mean, you can literally Google pretty much anything, but you can Google essential oils and you can find like 7,000 blog articles of how essential oils are dangerous and, they do this, that, and the other. What people don't understand is that when they're talking about essential oils, they're not talking about, they usually never say a brand name. It's just talking like wide spectrum wise, like this essential oil will cause this. Like I know that there was something going on about lavender essential oil, creating estrogen mimicking effects in boys and them growing breasts and stuff. But the problem is that if it's a pure essential oil, like essential oils are adaptogenic, which means they adapt to our body. They release what they need to and they stop when they need to. Same as herbal medicine. And so what we're finding is that people are afraid of lavender to give to their boys. They think their boys are going to grow breasts, when really it's like, but what essential oil were you actually using? Because that sounds like synthetic lavender to me. So there absolutely is a difference in the oils that you can get. I use exclusively Young Living, and that is because they are the only company that actually do regulate their essential oils. No other company does this. And so if you go to a store and you see an essential oil, a lot of the time they will say 100% pure essential oil. You look at the ingredients, it'll just say like lavender essential oil, and it won't list any other ingredients, but it's like $6 and it'll make your boys grow breasts. So there's actually like 100 times more lavender being sold worldwide than there is lavender being grown. So we know very clearly that, lavender, like most of the lavender sold on the markets today is not pure lavender. It's flavender. It's fake lavender, So it's just like crazy. And so there's no like regulations around labeling. They can say whatever they want and it can be whatever they want. As long as the essential oil contains 5% essential oil, it can say 100% pure essential oil. And that's really scary because that other 95% can be anything. It can be, oftentimes it's artificial fragrance because they want to enhance the smell so it smells stronger, so people think it's a pure oil. It can be chemical fillers, and it can just be carrier oil as well, but that's not going to have the healing effects that it should have. The other thing is that even certified organic oils, they only, because organic certification was created for produce and agriculture, it wasn't designed for essential oils. They've just kind of fallen under that category now as something that you can get certified. Basically, the guidelines are that it only needs to be 95% raw organic material. So again, there's like this loophole of like 5% can be something that's not an essential oil. And whether that company, you know, is ethical and just puts in a carrier oil to fill it out, or if they're putting some artificial stuff in there to enhance, we don't know. But that's the problem. We just don't know. And because there's no regulation. And no other company has this regulation. So Young Living has what's called a seed to seal guarantee. And it's basically where they regulate from the moment that the seed is selected and planted to the moment that that bottle is sealed tight and sent to you, that that oil completely remains unadulterated, untouched. Their growing methods are down to a science of like the conditions that they need to grow in. Harvesting, every plant has to be harvested at a different time of day. And the reason this is so important is because, like I was talking about chemical constituents before, essential oils are like the essence, it's like the fatty oil of a plant. Not all plants have enough of this oil to distill into essential oils. You can't turn any plant into an essential oil, but the ones that do, it has to be so scientific on when they're harvested and how they're distilled in order to be able to get those chemical constituents that are contained in that plant out into the oil. And those chemical constituents combined with each other are going to be what gives it its healing properties. And so you could have an essential oil from another company that's, you know, certified organic, you know, they claim that it's pure, and it very well could be, but they don't have control over the distilling. And that's the problem, is that no other company own their own farms and distill their own oils. They purchase them from farms already distilled. And these farms don't have the research behind them to know like exactly which plant needs what pressure, what temperature, you know, how long it needs to be distilled for, because all of these things are going to basically decide whether all these compounds go through to the oil. Cypress oil is a really good example. Cypress essential oil, great for circulation, amazing for all that. So cypress is meant to have like over 200 chemical compounds. Without those 200 chemical compounds, cypress doesn't have the properties that it needs to in order to be effective, to actually help with your circulatory system. If it is distilled for 20 hours, only 20 of those chemical constituents go through to the oil. If it's distilled for 26 hours, you get like 6. And if it's distilled at 24 hours, that's when you get the full spectrum and the full panel of chemical constituents. So it has a very, very specific time frame that it needs to be distilled for. The average cypress oil is distilled for 3.5 hours. So even if they claim for it to be a pure essential oil, which it could be, does it have all the chemical constituents? That's really important. That's going to decide whether it's effective. So some people will purchase oils that, you know, they're doing what they think is right. They're purchasing from a company that's certified organic. They're you know, doing their research into the company, and it seems ethical and legit. And then they're getting this oil and they're just not getting the results that they want. Well, it's not because the oils don't work, it's because that oil doesn't contain all the chemical constituents and the compounds required to make it effective. And so Seed to Seal really ensures and regulates this. They have like the largest of any company that does the largest amount of testing. And if there's any contamination, or if the oils don't meet their standards for all those compounds, then they don't sell them. Last year alone, they had to dispose of $8 million worth of retail value of oil because they didn't meet our standards. And so that to me speaks volumes. Like, they're losing money, but they're not willing to compromise their quality and the purity and the effectiveness or the efficacy of the oil just to make a profit and to turn over some money. And so, yes, there is definitely a difference. That was like the long-winded answer.
Oh my gosh, that is just, I'm amazed. I feel honored just sitting here with you because you're just so knowledgeable. Like, and I think I've heard that before, have learned about all oils are not equal, and just going into that deeper, like a lower level of, okay, how are these oils made and how much time and I'm sure love and energy is being put into these oils is so important. And so that's something that I always think about when I'm spending that money on Young Living oils, because I know way back when, like maybe 5 years ago, when I was buying oils at Sprouts or at, whatever like the health food stores are, I was thinking like, yes, like I only get to spend like $4.99 on this one oil and I smell good and all this stuff. But it's like, what are you going to do to really help yourself, help your health? And are you willing to put in that extra money? And I think money is just something that always comes to people's mind. People are always worrying about it. And it's like, okay, but you're also spending this much on antibiotics, and you also have to drive there, so you are paying for gas. You pay for it now, you pay for it later. So yeah, it's amazing. Like just all of that information that you just gave us, so awesome.
Yeah, I'm learning so much, even that I didn't even know before, and I can definitely speak from experience on that. I used to use another company's essential oils. I'm not going to say the name, but I used their oils for years, and I really didn't experience the kind of effects that I experience now. It's like, now I really can't live without the essential oils. Like, I freak out if I forget certain oils. And when I travel, go anywhere for the weekend, for the day, I always take them with me, and they just have helped me so much. But when I use the other company, and then I also would buy from grocery stores, and I didn't get the same benefits that I get with Young Living. So yeah, I think that kind of answers my next question, though. Why do you feel Young Living is the best choice among other essential oil companies? Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, like, I've been using Young Living for a little over a year, and it's just completely changed everything for me. And they don't have any chemicals in their products. There's other essential oil companies that they put chemicals in their products, and that doesn't even make sense to me.
With what they're trying to be, a health and wellness company.
Exactly. So I think, yeah, definitely do your research and look at the ingredients, because a lot of companies will try to sneak stuff in there and just put it in there so you don't see it. But yeah, I would experience symptoms of, like, I'd use shampoo and conditioner from these essential oil companies, and my head would get itchy, or my skin would still get itchy because it had chemicals in it, and I'm super allergic to synthetic chemicals. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on is just like what you said about Young Living, using all of that, or throwing away all that money. Like, that just shows like how much they care, and I think that translates to the oils too, of just like the energy being put into it and a lot of love, and it just shows that they care so much about people and their health. So I think that's really amazing. How do you use essential oils in your daily life for yourself and your family?
Oh, literally, if you've ever heard the saying, there's an oil for everything, it's not an exaggeration. So for me, I start